question, they have 2.5 minutes to answer. Every subsequent question will last for just 1 minute. So, George Grace, starting with USO, would you like to read out your question?
Okay, so my question was, the role of USO is tripartite. So there's 3 aspects of the role. What would you do to ensure that all aspects of it receive equal amounts of time and attention, and how would you like to develop them? So Adam, you can take this.
Hi everyone, I'm Adam. First of all, I'd just like to apologise for all of you I missed while canvassing. For those of you I did see, it was great. You gave me some really good ideas, it was really useful. There are obviously 2 parts to this question. First of all, it's tripartite. How would I try and spread my work evenly? Well, I'm not sure I necessarily would. Anyone who does a role with multiple different parts to it will realise that at different times of the year you will need to spend different amounts of time on each part of the role. For example, Castle Hatfield Day is coming up, George will obviously spend a lot of time on that. What is important, although, is to make sure that you work out what you do need to spend time on and just be adaptable and work out what you need to look at that moment in time. Apart from that, it simply comes down to time management, and I think that, as I've shown the last term or so, being able to keep up with my degree, as well as being able to do freshman's captain stuff and run the ski trip from the castle end, I have plenty of skills within my time management. How I'd like to develop the role? Well, for starters, I'd like to congratulate George on the way she sort of revolutionised the student union side of the role. That's gone really well, and I just sort of like to continue that, the way she's done it. It's been really good. I'd just like to make that a bit more efficient. With sort of the sports and society side, I'd like to make all the sports a bit more integrated. So supporting each other a bit more, mainly through talking to team captains, going down to cup matches, making sure that we are following each other. As far as the society side of the role, I think it just needs a bit more publicity. There's a pottery class going on right now. There was one last week. As a liver out, I had no idea about this until I started canvassing. That's just not okay. I also would like to see more DU involvement within the college. A lot of our DU sportsmen are currently completely ignored. We don't even include them in grandstand, and I really think that we should be more proud of what they're doing. Finally, with the treasury side of the role, there's not really that much development that needs to be done. It is what it is being a treasurer. There is more to the role than that, in that you need to also be more of a bank manager, and you need to make sure that people are looking after their accounts, you need to make sure the money is coming in, but really it's as simple as just sort of running people's accounts, and that type of role I don't feel needs much development. It's just sort of keeping on going as it is. Thank you very much.
So as George has alluded to, that this role is a 3-part role, so as Adam said, looking at the treasury side of things, the student union side of things, and importantly the clubs and societies. I think Adam has brought up a key point that, you know, it is dependent on what is needed at the time, but I think here the key skills are organisation and time management. I've been so lucky at my time at university to be involved in so many different things in college and outside of college, and I think that this has taught me some great time management skills and also a variety of skills which I would hope to bring to the role. I think organisation as well is key, making sure that everyone is prepped for meetings, that they know when things like funding deadline applications are. This is going to make the role run much more smoothly and hopefully make everyone in college feel really at ease with the way that the role is run. I would really hope to develop all sides of the role. So in terms of the sports and society side of things, one of the things that I would like to do is to develop the captaincy structure much further than we have it now. To really be having regular meetings, not only with the captains, but with the society leaders as well, because I think that the issues of governance in many cases are universal. You know, there are things like membership, funding, things like that, which we could all be discussing, and what I want to really make happen is a free exchange of ideas within Castle. So making sure that we get out of our boxes of being, you know, art society, boat club, you know, really making sure that we are Castle and that we are making things run as smoothly as we possibly can. On the treasury side of things, as Adam said, George and Ed have done a fantastic job this year, particularly with the funding committee. That's something I would like to continue. I think that it's important to always be reviewing things as it adds dynamism to the role. One of the things I'm really keen to pursue is sponsorship, and I'm very keen to work with the SLO on this. One of the ideas I have particularly is the sponsorship of Grandstand, in the same way that the careers emails that you probably all receive are sponsored. I think this is something that could add a really new dimension to the way that we fund Castle Sports and Societies, so something I really hope to have the opportunity to work on. And in terms of the student union, again, I'm really pleased to be given the opportunity to potentially carry this role on from George, because I think she's done a fantastic job this year. One of the things I really want to do is to bring things that are up for debate at the student union much more into the open, so that you guys all have the chance to really contribute to this. And what I want to do is to make the DSU reps much more approachable, and really bring them into a huge part of college life, so that we really have our voice heard on a student union level in the best way that we possibly can.
Thank you very much. Now opening up to the floor for questions. It will ask in alternate forms, so Rachel will start and then Adam again. The questions now have answers for a minute and a half. So any questions, please? Stu?
Why have you chosen to run for this role?
So for the camera, it's why have you chosen to run for this role?
Thanks for your question, Stu. I've chosen to run for this role because I really think I'm very suited to it. I hope that I'm a friendly, approachable person. I know everyone always says that, but I really hope that I'm someone that people feel like they could come and speak to if anything was needed. I feel like I've got a lot of different experiences in college. I've had a foot in a lot of different camps, as it were. I've been a DU athlete. I've been involved in Duck, in different clubs and societies within college. I think this has given me a really broad range of skills and a really broad understanding of what goes on in college. It's something that I've really been passionate about. I really think that our clubs and societies are what makes our university experiences a little bit different from one another, a little bit different from what we would have had at York or Warwick or Lancaster. Something that we can do at Durham, is ratify our own societies, which I think is an absolutely fantastic thing that we can do. And that's something I really want to promote within the JCR.
If I'm honest with you, when I first thought about signing up for this role, the SU side of it didn't really come into it. It was because I did a lot of sports and societies in the college, and it was something I felt very passionate about. As I've been more involved with the student union, I've realised how important that side of the role is. And so basically it's just an area, it is a tripartite role, but it's sort of three parts of the college which I feel incredibly passionate about. The sort of sports and societies that we have within college really sort of bring us together as a college, and it's one of the best things about college life. It really brings us together as a college in that then everyone gets to know people in different years, different courses, it sort of breaks down cliques, and that really makes us what we are as a college. It makes us Castle. Obviously that is something I feel incredibly passionate about and I love. As far as the student union is concerned, they're trying to move towards a more centralised university. Obviously that's not something that any of us are particularly happy about, but as that happens then the student union is going to be more important, and it's something that you really need to get involved with, and that's something I really want to do.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? Ed Gibbs?
So far through canvassing and hustings, we've heard a lot about the JCR website. If we say we got rid of the JCR website and emails, how would you communicate sports results to the JCR?
I think the easiest way to do that would be through social media. People are on their computers all the time. Often people are on their emails, but they get a lot, so they don't read them all. Often people don't bother with the JCR website because currently it's not that useful. I would like to make it more useful, but if you're going to rule that out, then I would say that sort of Facebook and Twitter and that sort of thing are what people spend most of their time on, will be the easiest way to communicate anything through the college.
Obviously, emails and the website are things that we rely on at the minute, and again, something I would really like to develop. I think social media is a great way to be doing this, but there are other ways as well. I think it's important that all the teams are talking to each other, discussing their results, stimulating kind of like organic discussion. At the same time, there's nothing wrong with putting up a good old-fashioned scoreboard and letting people see the results as they happen. I think that would be quite an interesting thing to pursue, maybe having one outside the Great Hall so that we can have a look at what the scores are. Maybe even if we're having matches over lunchtimes and things, update the scores if we can in real time. I think that would be quite exciting. Also, I know that the bar's interested in getting a TV, so that might also be something to pursue something maybe quite current that's happening to pursue next year.
Thank you very much. Yes, please.
You've both spoken a lot about the sporting societies within Castle. How do you ensure that other societies such as arts and music get equal coverage?
So the question for the camera is, how do you ensure that other societies like arts and music get equal coverage to sports societies?
And so one of the things that I would really like to do if I was given this opportunity is to kind of try and evolve Grandstand. I know this is something that's been running for quite a short time here at Castle, and it's great at the moment. But what I really want to do is to make it more than it is at the moment. So to turn it much more into, what's going on at Castle. So really try and bring the societies into it, advertise their events in a much clearer way than we do at the moment, and really profile them, get under the skin of what's going on in Castle. Maybe other than the sports. What I'd really like to do as well is to bring in some quirky features, like I said, profiling societies, looking at things like Team of the Week, try and bring out a lot more of the personality of college, which I think is something at the minute which we're maybe missing. Another thing I'd really like to do, going back to the point about the website, is to formalise an events calendar. So to have as many as we possibly can, events that are going on in Durham that are involving Castlemen, be that Floodlit Cup, be that opera, be that musical societies. What I would really like to do is, to have any event in Durham with a Castleman involved on the website, so that we can go along and support our fellow Castlemen, because at the end of the day, we all like it when we get a lot of support, and it's a really great way to show our friendship with each other.
Yeah, as I touched on sort of my opening statement, I think that the best way to do this is just sort of increasing publicity. For example, the pottery class that's on right now, I wouldn't have known about as a liver out if I hadn't seen posters while canvassing. These kind of things, I think, are interesting, and they are sort of appealing to a large portion of our JCR, but people don't hear about them. So adding in advertisements in the JCR website, on Grandstand, that sort of thing, through Facebook, any other way of getting it out there. There was a play on Friday, which was written by a second year, and that was really, really good. It was in Norman Chapel, and I only heard about it because I bumped into him on the night, and that's because I didn't go on Facebook for a few days because I was quite busy. It's just using different ways of contacting people. So basically it's just getting the word out there more. Once the JCR website is more useful, I think people will go on it more as well. And currently there's only 4 societies that are actually on there which are non-sporting, and one of those is Adventure Society, which I suppose you'd sort of count sporting in anyway. So once that's a bit more useful, I would sort of try and use that a bit more as well.
Thank you very much. Any more questions, please? George Griggs.
How much power do you think you have as senior union rep, and how do you think that relates to decisions made at President's Committee, to what Simon said?
So the question is, how much power do you think you have as senior unions officer, senior union rep, and
how do you think that role relates to the decisions made at President's Committee?
how do you think that role creates and affects decisions made at the President's Committee?
Often, when decisions are brought towards the student union, they are almost decided already. It would be wrong, though, to say that they all are. And I think that it is important that you use your power as much as possible within the student union as the rep for the whole college. I think this position is getting more and more power as the student union is being used more and more. The Vice-Chancellor is going through that role, through that sort of avenue to make decisions more. As a result, I feel that we need to utilise sort of communication with different colleges, student union reps, and then within presidents of other colleges to try and provide a united stance from our college and other colleges, because when we are united, then we are much stronger than when we are just arguing as a single college.
I'm sorry, I couldn't have the question repeated.
Yeah, do you want to say it again? So, how much power do you think you have as senior union rep, and how do you think that the decisions you make relate to the decisions made by the President's Committee?
I really think that this role is ever evolving. The Vice-Chancellor historically hasn't been too interested to hear what we think. We all know about random allocation, and the things that he's trying to push through at the minute seem like they could well be going the same way. But what we need to do, regardless as to whether we have the power, is to make a hell of a lot of noise, and let the Vice-Chancellor know that he is not getting away with what he's doing. And I think there's anything that we can do that backs up, what Simon and future, senior men are doing is a great thing. It's something that we should really be jumping on. And if the Vice-Chancellor is in any way leaning towards the Student Union as a source of his student opinion, that is something that we at Castle need to be at the forefront of doing. I think at the moment, obviously we do have the power to vote and things like that. We always have the power of the democratic vote. We have the power to vote against. And I think, we can't underestimate that our objection, if we don't agree, is equally as strong, whether or not we agree or not, basically.
Thank you very much. Any more questions, please? Yes.
How important do you think the relationship with JCR treasurer is? And then how do you manage the accounts with club captain, and treasurers and clubs as well?
So for the camera is, how important do you think the relationship with treasurer is, and how are you going to manage the accounts with the club managers and team captains?
So, the relationship with the treasurer is absolutely vital, and the first thing I would hope to do is to seek to build a really strong working relationship with all members of the exec, but, particularly with the treasurers. They are, made to work so closely together. One of the things I would really hope to do is, at the handover of execs within the clubs and societies, so, when the year is drawing to a close and those new execs are elected, I would love to have, the club captain, the social secs, and the treasurers all in, to speak to them, to let them know what the role entails, because I think sometimes handover can be a little bit shaky, especially, as it comes around exam time and things like that. So that's something I would really, really hope to strengthen. Make sure everyone is fully aware of what their role entails. I would love to work, strongly with the treasurers through the whole year, so having regular meetings with them, particularly with any clubs who have fallen into arrears for whatever reason, so that we can talk through sponsorship. If clubs do need sponsorship, making sure that we are on it early, on it this term and next term if preferably, so that next year, they can go into the next year, the next season, with a really, really strong footing, basically.
Yeah, I basically have to echo a lot of what Rachel said there. It is important, obviously, to build a stronger working relationship as possible with the treasurer, because officially this position is assistant treasurer, so there is a large amount of time you will have to spend with the current treasurer working with them. As far as working with the clubs and societies goes, I would like to sit down with them as early as possible, because, for example, this year, women's football have a sponsor and men's football don't. And there is no way, this may sound as bad as it sounds, but women's football, in theory, shouldn't have as much coverage as men's football, and men's football, there's no way that men's football shouldn't be able to get a sponsor. As far as sponsorship is concerned, there's no way they shouldn't be able to get a sponsor if women's football can. It's just the fact that women's football got there early, and the fact that they came back in September, October, and men's football hadn't already got one, and women's football had sorted one already. That's why they got sponsorships. It's about sorting it as early as possible. So it's about sitting down early and speaking to them, and then throughout the year just being in constant communication with the various execs.
Thank you very much. Last few questions, please. Ed Gibbs.
So lots of sports teams have anthems and songs to go with them. What would be an anthem to you, and could you perform it for us, please?
I think
the question is, lots of sports teams have anthems for them. What would be an anthem for you, and can you please demonstrate it?
I think within Britain there's sort of only one I can go for here, and that is the national anthem. It is an anthem that is used by all our sports teams, and so I'd like to go with that, please. God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen. God save our Queen. Da, 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 da. Victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save our Queen. Sorry about that.
I think it's safe to say that this contest is not going to be won or lost on singing ability when you're about to hear me. So, I'm going to have to admit to a very embarrassing fact here. I am actually from the good town of Sunderland. which is a huge embarrassment to me. So what I'm going to go for is a lovely and ever inspirational song about Mackhams. Those for the Southerners amongst you, those are people from Sunderland, me. So please bear with me, it's a horrendous, horrendous song. Join in if you feel like it. So it goes, Mackham, Mackham, I'm proud to be a Mackham. I love the River Wear and the Ald, that's old, Wearmouth Bridge. Mackham, Mackham, I'm proud to be a Mackham. Sunderland's me, that's my city, and I'm proud of where I live.
Thank you very much. We have 2 more questions, so Robbie, please.
If you could be any item of sports equipment, what would you be and why?
So the question is, if you could be any item of sports equipment, what would you be and why?
I think for me it would probably have to be trainers. They're pretty vital, sturdy and dependable, and they can make you run fast, they can make you change direction. They're pretty much the key piece of equipment, and I would hope that a lot of people would see me maybe in the same way. Not sure that came out quite hard.
I think probably if you were a piece of sports equipment, you'd probably get quite frustrated. You're sat around doing very little most of the time, and you probably want to take your anger out on something, so I probably want to be some kind of bat, maybe a cricket bat, so that really sort of satisfying feeling when you get to smack into something else, because the rest of the time you're doing very little.
Good, thank you very much. We should go for one more question. Stu.
Shag Marion Boys, Lynn Carrick, Avery Macaroon, Reed, or Otto the College Dog.
And for the camera, that is Shag Marion Boyd, Lynn Carrick, Ava Schumacher-Reid, or Otto the College Dog.
Well, for all of you who don't know, when you have to apply for one of these positions, you have to get signed off by college office, which would be Ava. And it took a long time for me to do that, and it felt like that she was avoiding me. So, as a sort of consequence, I feel like I'd have to avoid her back, because otherwise it would be sort of a bit weird. Otto's great, he comes out with some great stories, really dependable, man's best friend, so I'd probably end up marrying him. As a consequence, I'd probably end up shagging Lynn.
It's not really a good choice for me here. I think I would probably end up marrying Otto. I mean, his whimsy would probably get me through a lot of good and bad times, so I'd probably marry Otto. And then, to be honest, it's a dead toss-up between the other two. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that.
Well, with those short answers, we have 1 more minute for a question, so anyone got a really short question? Or we can call it that. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, candidates. Okay, so today we have Minnie Williams and Alice Patchett here, Global Services Manager. And the question they've been asked, which they have 2.5 minutes to respond to, is going to be read out by Christabel.
Okay, so the first question is, why do you particularly want to be Services Manager rather than any other role on the exec, and why do you feel you would be good at it?
Hiya, yeah, again, it's lovely to see so many of you down here. Thanks for coming down. The reason why I want to be a services manager, particularly over anything else, every exec position has a lot of credibility and really is something to be admired, I think. But for services manager, for me myself, I feel like this is where I can give to the college most beneficially. I feel like through my own skill set, the skills that I've been able to develop through various experiences, I feel like this is really a way that I can give, and I can give the most that I can give. And I love this college. I absolutely adore it. And I would feel privileged and quite frankly honoured to be able to be a part of bettering it, making it as amazing as it can be for people to come or people who are here now. I think I'm quite able to think creatively and think around problems, come up with different ideas. even small things like noticing that lots of the letters are missing off the post boxes, the pool table's been propped up indefinitely on newspaper, putting a list of instructions to how to use the JCR TV. Lots of people don't even know how to do that. Introducing new things, just pockets or lockable boxes within the JCR to don't go down after formal issues or change a shirt. These things are all quite easy to implement, I feel. Also something like simple, like a services Facebook group where you can post if you have an idea you wish to discuss, or a problem or something's broken, you can see it straight away and mitigate these issues, and everything will run a bit more smoothly, I feel. As for experience, I've held a lot of positions which I've loved every second of, within college or without. Managing the Toasty Bar particularly this year, I've seen a lot of lovely faces, and I've learnt a lot about looking after a team, making sure everyone's doing their job, and economically working out how to use a budget effectively, make ideas happen, take suggestions and make them a reality. I've sat on meetings with college office, I've had interaction with the people services manager needs to work with. I'm quite happy to see those faces and suggest things, question. Again with Arts Week, I'm managing a small team of reps, 5 of them, and again it's learning how to interact with different people, make their ideas possible, and cater for the needs of the JCR, listen, actively respond. I like to think people would feel more than happy to come and talk to me and suggest something, and I'd be more than happy to represent them.
Hi guys, I'm Alice. So there are 3 reasons I would like to go for the role of services manager over any of the other on exec. Firstly, I myself use services on a day-to-day basis, and when they don't work, it is really frustrating. So I believe that the communication strategies that I would implement, such as services mobile, would mean that I was fully aware of anything that needed fixing, and would therefore fix it as efficiently as possible, and allow the JCR to make the most out of the great services that we do have. Secondly, throughout my time in Castle, I have developed a few ideas and changes that I would like to make, and also canvassing all you guys, it's really clear that other members of the JCR have loads of ideas as well. So I would like to run for the role because it would give me the opportunity to implement some of my ideas and also incorporate that with the ideas of the JCR to hopefully get any small changes that we want through. Finally, I think that services plays a really vital role in facilitating the inter-year friendships that exist in college, and that's one of the best things about college life. So whether it's just a first and third year going for a game of pool or something. So I think that through daily checks of the JCR and tidying it, I can ensure all of the services are fully functioning and really maintain this great aspect of college social life. I think my personality and my current involvement in college does make me good for the role. I am quite a direct and chatty person, and I think that means that most people would feel fairly comfortable in coming up to me and telling me an idea or an issue that they had. In terms of experience, I think my experience has given me a really good idea of how college works, and also has given me the skills that I feel that any successful service manager should possess. So through security committee, I work with Tuesday formals and security. I've learned how formals should be run efficiently. Also, trying to implement rules in formal, I feel I can take the abuse that any service manager is likely to receive. Through CCA, Elderly Care Exec and Sponsorship Committee, I have had experience dealing with external companies confidently, and I confidently wait until I get the result that I want. So this would come in handy when dealing with external contractors for repairs. And then finally, this year I've been UCHC co-treasurer, where I've got experience bookkeeping, and this would be really useful when keeping concise accounts of where all the service money has been spent. So I could send this around to the JCR on a termly basis, and then JCR can make sure that I'm spending the budget in the way that you guys want me to. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope that I've demonstrated to you that if elected tomorrow, I would fulfil the role of service manager to the best possible standard.
Thank Thank you very much. Now opening up to alternate questions from the floor. So, anyone got questions for these people? Yeah, Justin.
The JCR, no matter how much the services managers in the past have tried, always ends up becoming a tip by the end of the year. So our new sofa got broken within half a term. What do you reckon you could do to try and make people learn to respect the JCR and make it a place that people will actually want to go to?
So the question is, given how many things get broken and damaged in the JCR, how could you make sure people respect what's going on and make sure the JCR and the West Court is a nice place for people to go to?
I think at the minute, when something is a mess, people don't want to look after it. You sort of have a thing when your bedroom's a mess, you're like, oh well, I'll just chuck that on the top floor, I'll deal with it later. But I think if it was tidy and kept tidy all the time, then people would actually respect it as a place that people in the JCR would want to use. So I intend to have a timesheet, both online and the JCR, for use of both myself and the West Courtyard reps, to ensure that we do daily rounds of the JCR and the West Courtyard, ensuring that everything's in order, just giving it a quick tidy. I think it's all about, it's easier to do a quick tidy every day than a massive tidy every once in a while. And I think that just keeping it ticking over, keeping it nice and tidy, people are going to be like, oh yeah, this is quite nice and tidy, I'm not going to be the one to mess it up.
I think the JCR itself has a lot of potential that isn't used at the moment. And I think it's a real shame that it's become sort of almost a dumping ground for certain things. Particularly, I think one of the glaring issues is getting rid of, well not getting rid of, but moving the ergs into a home that's safe for them and also that doesn't encroach on that area. I think simple things to kind of bring up the standard of the area will make people respect it more. If there's a platform for suggesting what you want in that room, I think shaping your time at Castle should be a right far more than a privilege. And at the moment there's no way of doing that. So I'd like to make the role more accessible and take suggestions for DVDs. If you want new FIFA, then fine, you should be able to have that and ask for that. And just making sure that it's an area for everyone and that everyone wants to utilise. In regards to maintaining it and keeping it at that level, I'd like to use the West Courtyard reps a bit more and kind of expand their responsibilities into tidying that area. When they have a shift, there's 3 a week, I believe. It wouldn't take long just to have a quick sweep, and make sure that there's nothing in there that shouldn't be. Make sure it's all tidy, report any damages, so that it all can be sorted out straight away. Yeah, so I'd really like to make that a more visible space, a happier space that everyone will respect because it's what they want.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? Yes.
If you've got like £1,000, which area or what would you spend it on?
So if you got £1,000, which area or what would you spend that money on?
Okay. I think part of it would definitely go towards the JCR, in that area, a nicer place. I'd also like to just touch things up, like the hot drinks machine. At the moment, no one knows how to use it. It looks a bit scary. There's bags and things and sticks. And, get one that works, that you can use. You're allowed to have tea with your breakfast. If catering and university catering doesn't allow you to have it for every other meal, then that should be something that you can have. Lots of people want that, I know. So why can that not be made a reality? Again, I mentioned the lockers or lockable boxes for gowns after form. I think that would save particularly livers out a lot of hassle and security when you have to lug things around while it gets cluttered. Also other little things in like the computer room, there's an aircon in there. No one really knows, does it work, does it not, how do we use it? At the moment their room can be quite stuffy and horrible and smelly. And it is essential for some people to use that room if you don't have a printer or your laptop's broken. So just making sure that what you're paying for and the things that you really should have as a right are up to scratch and maintained.
I agree with Monique on the tea/coffee machine. I'm all for 24-hour tea and coffee, so I would update that, make it useful, and ensure that everyone has access to that service. One other counselling as well, I've been saying that I would provide livers in with cleaning supplies. I have spoken to college office about that, and they said that it is very plausible. And so I would probably use, obviously I'll take it to a JCR vote, but I would probably use that £1,000 to purchase like long-lasting, really, really solid cleaning supplies, like hoover, dustpan and brush, etc. for everyone who lives in, so if they wanted to clean their own rooms, they could.
Thank you very much. Any more questions, please? Yes?
With the 55,000 people living out, what would you do to make services, especially formal meal tickets, more accessible and affordable?
So the question is, with so many people living out, what would you do to make formals and meal tickets more accessible to livers out?
In terms of meal tickets, I would like to open up the new online packed lunch sign up to livers out, so they could, if they were coming in to use the library or like had rehearsals or something, didn't have time to make lunch, they could sign up online. There were tick box options, so it'd be paid for each item, so if you didn't want everything, you could just buy a sandwich. That would be cheaper. I was speaking to one of the about that as well, and they were like, yeah, maybe we'd have to have a few discussions. They did seem hopeful. In terms of formals, through canvassing, I've been given quite a few ideas of doing a sort of half livers in, half livers out formal, and do them quite a lot more regularly. The point of bringing livers in, back in, is so that they can communicate with sort of like the first and third years who do live in. So instead of just having a solid livers out formal, or just having sort of like the 20 spaces, which don't usually get filled on a weekly basis, have more regular livers in, half livers out formals.
I completely agree with the packed lunch thing. That's something I thought about as well, making sure that things can be paid for separately, so it's it's open to a wide range of people. Also with formals, I noted in my manifesto that there's something I'd like to change about the formal sign-up system, making it more accessible to people who live out and therefore might be put off because they have like an allergy or some sort of dietary requirement which puts them at a disadvantage for signing up. If you're going to wake up and do it, then you want to be in a equally fair position. Why can that not come after you're given a place? I think that might encourage a certain group of people to sign up more often possibly. I'd really like to also push for the livers out brunches that were mentioned in Hustings last year. Everyone absolutely adores brunch, and I don't, it's fantastic, I love it too. But unfortunately that hasn't been able to happen yet, so I think that would bring more people back, and I think that would be a really nice thing to work on. So again, taking suggestions more from livers out as well as livers in for what they want to see from catering, I think could also help with formal numbers and making sure people want to come in. Possibly looking at making it permanent for there not to be a set number of livers out and formals as well. I think that could help.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? Yes, Robbie?
If you had the power to make one JCR service invincible so that it never breaks, what service would you pick?
So the question is, if you had the power to make one JCR service invincible, what would you pick?
It's between the formal sign-up system consistently working and vending machine. I'm going to have to go with the vending machine. Making sure that would always give you your change, the right change, would always, knock the thing out so you then have to bang it and then it gets locked and it's a massive faff. If that could be invincible and self-restocking, that would be absolutely fantastic.
Not gonna lie, vending machine, I 100% agree.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? George?
With college facilities becoming more centralised in universities, such as the washers, do you think that there will still be a place for this role in years to come?
So that's with more services becoming centralised, with like the laundry. Do you think there's still a place for the services in years to come?
I do. I think that, in particular, when you look at the West Courtyard and the JCR, it's highly unlikely that the small things such as looking after the pool table, stocking the vending machine, that's going to be university run. There will still always be someone in college or accommodation blocks who will do that. As well, with things becoming more centrally run, I think that services manager will sort of play even more of a key role, because at the end of the day it's the JCR who are using the services, and you still need a representative of the JCR to understand, to get feedback from the JCR of these services. And as things become more centrally run, the service manager will have to take the ideas to the university, not just to the college. And I think with that you need someone who's even more capable of being like, of confidently portraying and telling the university about their JCR's views.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's definitely needed, even if, you know, I'd hate to see it, but even if colleges did just become halls of residence, if, for example, your kettle had broken and you reported it to a university, sort of central area, it could take them weeks to find you and give you a new one. Whereas the services manager would be there straight away and be able to sort it out, I think, a lot quicker. Also, I think services encompasses more than that. It's also about you know, developing what is there for you, what you pay for to have, the little perks, the little things. You know, if the services manager wasn't there, who would you go to say, oh, I really like this, or you know, can we talk about this aspect of catering? I feel like you need a more personal level of contact to look after the things that are most important to you, and what is important to you is always subjective, and I really think, again, it should be a right to be able to say that. The services manager does a lot of work that's unseen that you might not even think about, and you know, colleges is a vast thing to look after, and to have that one person to help with its upkeep, I think is very, very important. If they weren't there, I think a lot of things would get forgotten and become run down and not looked after, and the levels and the standards would drop.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? Yes, please.
Seeing as you're going to be keeping the vending machines fully stocked, which vending machine snack would you be and why?
Considering that your role would be to keep the vending machine stocked, which vending machine snack would you be and why?
Oh, I can't actually eat anything. I'll probably have to go for a drink then. There's drinks in the bottles. Probably go for something like a Fanta, where it's, you know, it kind of sits quietly in the corner, but it's still bright and colourful, and you know, people sometimes forget about it, but it's nice to have, and you know, it's bubbly. You know, when you open it, you know, there's a different level to it there. You know, yeah, I think, yeah, I'll go with the Fanta.
I would go for the crunchy, because they're really good. As in, not myself, the teeth really nice. I like them personally, but also because like on the outside it's like really nice and chocolatey, and like just kind of like a standard chocolate bar. And then when you like break in, it's actually just like really like a really like fun like fuzzy flavour. So you can have a fuzzy flavour.
Any more questions, please? Ed James.
You've both talked a lot about the use of JCR services. Please could you demonstrate your understanding of how to use the services via interpreted dance?
How to use the services?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go. I know technically washing machine isn't on the service manager anymore, but I think that it should be because JCR's using it. So I'm going to interpret a dance how you should use a washing machine and how it may work as such. Okay.
I think I'm gonna go for an interpretation of a sleepy person waking up to sign up for formal.
Any more questions, please? Whiting.
The pool table, the vending machine, and the Xbox.
So that's Shag Marry Avoid, the pool table, the vending machine, and the Xbox.
I think at the moment I'll probably avoid the vending machine. It didn't give me any changes. But yeah, so I'll avoid the vending machine. It's a bit temperamental. And was it the pool table and the football table?
Pool table, the Xbox.
I'd probably have to marry the pool table because it's always there, and it's, you know, it's, you don't even have to be good at it to play and enjoy. Yeah, I'd probably marry that one. I feel like it will always be there, and it's a nice thing to have to enjoy. So then I would have to go for shagging the Xbox. I don't really know how to, well, I'm not very good at playing games and Xbox and things like that, but I'll give it a go.
I'll shag the vending machines, you can have a cheeky snack afterwards. I would marry the Xbox because there are so many different games, and marriages are quite long, it might get boring. And then I guess I'll avoid the pool table. I am horrendous and they'd probably end up hating me.
Thank you very much. Any more questions, please? We have time for 2 more. They can be like White's one, or serious. And if there's no, oh yes, thank you, Jonathan, let's go.
What's your stance on the exec getting free formal sign-up?
For the camera, that is, what is your stance on the executive getting free formal sign-up?
I think that one thing that's vital about the exec and has been really pushed this year is approachability. And them being at formals twice a week, they're getting their face out there, people know who they are. If they have an issue, you need to be able to know who to talk to. And by having the exec at formals twice a week, you're getting a lot of people to see their face and know who they are. And I think that, I mean, get it making the exec get up at 8 AM on a Sunday and a Tuesday on a weekly basis would probably be quite harsh.
I think for the jobs that the exec do, the time they put in, the commitment they give, the hours, how long they spend working with people in the college and for the college, I think they more than deserve a free meal once a week. The issue has been brought up about exec members living out and whether they should have free formals. Again, I think you're still putting that much into college and you're still giving as much as you can to better college life for everyone else. I think it's more than valid to give exec members free formals as long as it's economically viable.
Good. One more question, please. Mr. Bell.
As services manager, you tend to get a lot of anger and people being unhappy with what you're doing. You don't tend to get much thanks for it. Can you give an example of how you might have received kind of anger for something that's not necessarily your fault in the past and how you dealt with it? I can't rephrase that very well.
So the question is, as services manager, it's often a very thankless role that ends up people getting very angry at you because something breaks and isn't even your fault. Can you please give an example of how in the past someone has blamed you for something and got angry with you when it wasn't your fault and how you dealt with that?
So from working on the tasty bar, you have to learn to deal with people from all over, people who won't necessarily be as lovely as you guys. And you know, a lot of the time they're quite drunk and they can get quite aggressive. And you know, particularly at the moment, one of our machines isn't working, unfortunately. And if they've been waiting for sometimes longer than 2 minutes, they will come and be like, "Where's my tasty? Why isn't it happening? You're useless, absolutely useless." And to be honest, as long as you're doing as much as you can and you know that it's not your fault, you just have to take that, accept it. You know that arguing back is not going to get anyone anywhere. But then, if you can change anything, do what you can. If you can't, you need to you know, just accept the situation, and particularly with people that I've dealt with on the Toasty Bar, I've just had to explain to them that I'm doing everything I can. You can't let it get to you. You know you're doing your job. And you know, if it's unreasonable, then you need to just deal with the situation as it comes. Everyone is subjective.
Sconcing people informal when you're on security. People look at you as if you're just the biggest killjoy and you're ruining their night. And you do feel bad because I've been to formal and I know I get rowdy and it is really good fun, and when security tell you off, it is really, really frustrating and you just think that they're a really, really boring person. But you just kind of got to accept that it's all part of the role. The rules weren't implemented by you. I mean, I completely agree with the rules, but they weren't implemented by you. And at the end of the day, you're paid to be being in the hall, doing that job, and for that hour, you are security formal, and you've got to act like that way and not really be their friend.
Thank you very much, guys. Let's give a hand for the candidates. On to the third husting this evening is our full welfare officer. So to ask the first question, girls, we have Joe Stone.
Being a welfare officer involves working closely with lots of different people. How would you make sure that someone does not become dependent on you?
Hi, I'm Polly. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to those of you who have canvassed this week, and I'm really sorry to those of you who I didn't manage to catch. In the JCR standing orders, it says that the welfare officer should provide a confidential listening service to all members of the JCR relating to all welfare issues. In my manifesto, I touched on the importance of welfare being supportive and accessible. I'd really like to, if I'm elected, I'd really like to fulfil that and continue the work that Joe's been doing in the way that whoever we're working with wants us to. I think that's the most important thing. But at the same time, I think we need to always remember that in terms of dependency, welfare, we aren't professionals, we're not fully trained, and we always need to look to the college and the university for further support. The university have incredible support systems in counselling and advice, amongst other things. I really think it's important we remember that, and as well as I think it's important that as the welfare officer though we stay with someone throughout support aside from that, and I think that would really help with dependency because they're then in contact with a range of people, but it's all a really confidential nature. In terms of college welfare though, I think it's really important that the individual is always in control of the situation. As a welfare officer, I'd never tell anyone what to do, but hopefully I'll be able to assist them and help them in making decisions. If they need to make a decision about something to do, they should always have the final call. And I think that I could assist by supplying information and helping them with that and talking through options. But I think being them having their own their strength and their abilities and making their own decisions would help them to be dependent and not rely on college welfare too much. I think it's also really important to set a time if you're going to meet someone regularly, so they know that that's how it's going to work, and also in terms of confidentiality, make sure that they know how that relationship's going to work, like what stays confidential between the welfare officer and the individual, but what would need to be passed on further as well. I also think you need to set boundaries. I'd really like to give my all to this role, and I do really care about college welfare, but at the same time, our welfare system is a phone which is 9 till 9, but outside of that, I think I'd really like to implement an online system where you can contact us, and also we've got the emails, but outside of that, I'd like to really encourage using Nightline so that you don't become too dependent on college welfare. I also think that it's really important to be aware of what the welfare officer is. As a welfare officer, to really think about your motives and your feelings in the relationship as well, and think about how the other individual is too, so that if there are any issues of dependency, that you can spot those signs before it becomes an issue. Thank you.
Hiya, I'm Hannah. Again, thank you so much for coming down. Thank you for being so lovely and canvassing, and lovely being here. This question, I thought, I was so happy to get, actually, because it allowed me to say something that I wanted to say at Hustings anyway, which is that welfare isn't a role about who's nicer. It's not. Questions like this show us that actually sometimes in welfare there are times where you have to be quite tough, and so if people are, I know this is quite like confrontational, but if people are going to vote for me, which would be lovely if they thought that I was nice, don't do that. Vote for me because you feel like I have the skill set and the understanding to do a really good job. So to directly answer the question about dependency, there are a couple of things that I think would show that someone may be becoming dependent, and these would be that they're expecting regular meetings, and also very frequently, and also that you don't see their situations improving very much. But with all of these things, it's all blurred. Like everybody's different, and so there isn't unfortunately there's not a tick box where you can just be like, oh, they're dependent. Like it doesn't work like that. But hopefully you believe that I'd be a sufficient judge to know. So what I would do in this case is firstly put my own welfare first, because I have to do that. My own welfare has to be my priority, and I can't allow myself to become an emotional crutch. And then secondly is sometimes in welfare you have to realise that you aren't going to be the best help for that person, and sometimes helping them most is passing them on to somebody else. We can't fix the world, we're just welfare. So I think what you'd say, you'd have to say it quite sensitively. You could say something like this, like, look, we've been meeting quite a few times now, and you know that your situation's not improving very much. And I think that it's right for you to go and see so-and-so or so-and-so. And you can't force somebody to do something, you can't do that, but as welfare officer, sometimes you have to be there, and you can't be too shy to be like, oh no, this is what I believe that you should be doing. So yeah, but my experience has shown me that I really do feel like I could do this. Like there have been friends at home that I've been emotionally connected to, where I've had to say, look mate, I really do think now you need to go and see a doctor. And so if I could do that with someone that I'm emotionally invested in, I really feel like I could do that as well for an officer. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, questions from the field, please. Any questions? Yes, James.
So you've spoken about how you would make sure that you're not, that someone's not dependent on you. How would you make sure that everyone else in the welfare team knows those boundaries, and you're making sure that they're not letting someone else get dependent on them, rather than for your kind of personal?
So the question is, as welfare officer, you're also part of the welfare team. How could you then make sure that while you can ensure people won't become dependent on you, how can you make sure that the team won't have people becoming dependent on them?
So I think a lot of this comes down to experience. So I have, welfare officer is effectively the leader of a team, and I've done this in the past. Things like head girl, or president of the Rotary Club, or director of CCA, along with lovely Alicia. I've had experiences in which I've had to say to people, this is what you should and shouldn't be doing. It is difficult, but we select people for welfare, and that's what happens. And so you pick people firstly that you feel can deal with situations well, and you have to trust that that process works properly. But yeah, of course, it's really important, and Joe's done an amazing job in this year. We do get together often, and we do have meetings, and they're really lovely. And in those, especially at the beginning, it was sort of we really ran through what was expected of us, can't speak today, in the role. And so yeah, to always make sure that we're talking through things with the team. But I do, I've led things before, and I do feel like I could do that again.
Firstly, I think that the selection, as Hannah said, is really, really crucial. Making sure that we choose people who we think can handle the role. I also think that I would be able to provide guidelines which would help people to fulfil the role to the best of their ability. aside from that though, I do think there should be an increased amount of training for the welfare officers and also the campaigns officer and the welfare officer. And having spoken to the current campaigns and welfare, they agree, and I think that's something which we should really look into, and if I'm elected, that's something that I would want to work with them over the coming term to try and improve, because if we could get it for Castle, I think we should get it for every college to improve the welfare in every college as well.
Thank you very much. Any more questions, please? Yes?
What part of the welfare officer role do you consider to be more important? Providing welfare one-to-one or leading the welfare team?
So the question is, which parts of the welfare officer role do you think is more important? Providing welfare one-to-one or being leader of the welfare team?
Do I have to give one? Because it is an absolutely huge balance. If I have to select one, do I have to select one? I'd probably go for the one-to-one, because I think as well it is a partnership with the campaigns officer, so hopefully in that partnership I'm sure both people will have different skills as well. One person could be more of a leader and one person could be better at the one-to-one, so hopefully if I do have to prioritise one of those things, the other person could pick up on the other half. But I'm going to go for one-to-one. It is just really, really important to be able to identify with people where they're at. Yeah, obviously the welfare officer needs to be someone who's really approachable, who anyone will come and talk to and share things with. Yeah, I think that's...
Okay, so you're asking a philosopher. Okay, so I feel like media is objectively more important, but I can say which one. I don't know. I would enjoy more, and that is the one-to-one. I don't feel like, as silly as it sounds, there's no greater feeling than having someone come to you that is quite stressed and that you care about. And when they leave you, even if the problem's not solved, them to say, actually I feel better having seen you, that is the best thing. So, yeah, important to me, just happiness-wise, yeah, I'd say that one, but objectively they're both very, very important, and I don't think welfare officer can ever lose sight of the fact they are head of welfare.
Thank you very much. Paul?
It is plausible that the support system in college office is going to change over the next couple of years. How do you see the role of welfare changing to cope with that?
So the question is, it is plausible that in the next few years the welfare system within college office will change as well. How do you think that the welfare officer should go about dealing with that?
You're asking me a question about something I know nothing about. It's like Mystic Meg, like what will happen. I don't know. Because I don't know how the college office would change, I can't say this is how welfare will change. It's impossible, but I can say that I really, really, really hope that welfare remains the same. I mean, like, in my manifesto, I think actually there are definite things that need to change about welfare, and I'm not content with how it is at the moment. But as a service, I think it needs to stay the way it is. We need to have a welfare officer, we need to have a welfare team. The way that benefits people, and like hopefully with the changes that I'm prepared to make if I become elected. I don't know, it would be so sad if people didn't meet their needs, didn't get their needs met like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Hannah. I don't know masses about this as well, but I'd say that the system at the moment is working really well, but there are a lot of things which I'd like to change and improve as well. But I'd hope through communication with College Office, working with Ava, that if I'm elected I'll be able to work through that, and also hope that students have input on what those changes might be, because I think that's really important as well. Through canvassing I've heard so many fantastic ideas from you guys, and I wouldn't want that to be put to waste if the system changed and maybe college took more control over welfare. I think students leading student welfare is so important, and we can improve it.
Thank you. Any more questions, please? Yes, Adam Wells.
In welfare, it's sometimes important that you cheer people up and make them laugh. So could you all tell us a joke to sort of make them laugh?
in welfare, sometimes it's important to cheer people up, sometimes with a joke. So can you please demonstrate your joke for the crowd?
Something which I've spoken about on my manifesto is that I'd like to introduce a wider variety of welfare-related activities outside of the campaigns weeks. One of those things is introducing like games nights as an alternative to going out, and using the welfare room as more of a social space rather than the place that you go if you have like an issue. So along those lines, I got a new Monopoly set the other day, and it came without the instructions. What are the chances?
Oh, I don't have a joke relevant to my manifesto. Okay, so I'm going to say the same joke. This is disastrous, actually. I'm going to say the same joke that I said at the beginning of Freshers Week. You know when, like, Jack O'Day handed the microphone around and we were all, like, having our photos, like, photo taken as a year group? I was the person he asked, asked to give a joke, which was poor choice from him. And like, I think actually my accent has, you might disagree, has improved as I've been here. And then I think part of the problem as well was that people couldn't hear what I was saying. So please laugh even if you don't find this funny. So it goes like this. Also, actually, I think I've spoken about this. Sorry, I need to get on with the joke now. But I spoke to someone about this before, and I think actually this might only be funny because I'm from West Brom and we're a bit rough there. But here we go. Okay. So knock knock. Yeah. Knock door run.
Thank you very much. Anyone else, please? Henry Winner on the back.
As welfare officer, you expect to be nice most of the time. However, all nice people can be mean occasionally. What's the meanest thing you've ever done?
As welfare officer, you're supposed to be nice and well-varied.
Oh, I know.
But often, even nice people can be bad sometimes. What's the meanest thing you've ever done?
You're actually all going to know me after this. Okay, so me and my brother, when we were little, we liked to play fight. And one time it got a bit too far in that, I think I must have swung too strongly, and he got really angry, so he hit me properly. So it turned into a real fight. So I dragged him to the stairs and I sat on his head and I punched him in the face and I broke the cartilage in his nose. True story. I'm sorry, I've never done anything that violent before or after. It was unintentional.
Sorry, yes.
I'm going to go down more of a serious route. I don't really have a funny mean thing I've done. It's a shame. But I don't know, I always feel really guilty when I do anything wrong. But I'd say something which I hate to do, but it's really hard. It's not something that's intentional, but sometimes I've left someone out or something and not meant to, just without thinking about it, and something like that is something which obviously isn't okay, and is something which I don't want to do again. Yeah, I'm going to go down a more serious route.
Thank you very much. Alex.
You've both already had experience of being on welfare. What have you done this year to make the most out of your role?
So out of your role. You both had experience of welfare this year. What have you done to make the most out of your role this year?
I'd say something that's really important is making yourself really accessible. So I'd say that I've spent a lot of time in college. I like to get involved in sports, working on the bar, doing different things, so you meet as many people as possible. Something I enjoy and something which I think helps with the welfare role, because I think if you know someone, often that makes it easier to speak to someone. Can you repeat the question, sorry?
You've both been on welfare this year. What have you done to get the most out of the role?
Also, while I've been at home, I've tried to take part in different kinds of work experience, which will help me in the role to make the most and do the best that I can while I've been assistant welfare. So I volunteered at special needs school, I volunteered at a prison. Yeah, I've done a few different things over the year which I think have increased my knowledge of welfare issues and have hopefully helped me in fulfilling the role over this year to the best of my ability.
Well, Polly and I have had quite different roles this year. Well, not very different, but I've been Disabilities Officer. Lily VDB is the loveliest girl, and I mean her no harm. Like, she, honestly, if you have like an issue concerning disabilities, go to Lily VDB, she's so good. But this year, I feel like I have been one of the first people to ask for access with disabilities. So this is one of the small things on my manifesto, and that's I've done it this year, and I want to keep that ball rolling, which is Castle's really good about forgetting minorities, and so as horrible as that sounds, and welfare should be on that. So this year, like, we had I pestered and Simon, we had a meeting with college office, blah blah blah, and like already because of that meeting, like things like temporary ramps will hopefully be put in place, and then they want more meetings with us in the future. I've done things like the Paralympic guests that came. I've just really wanted to make the most out of the law. I don't know, it's a really like awkward question, but hopefully I've done something with this role now that hasn't been done before, and I know that I could do that again with welfare officers.
Thank you very much. Robin, please.
Okay, so one of the major things that the welfare officer does is kind of organise drop-ins and run drop-ins. I just want to know, do you think that they are important and relevant to people in Castle, and do you have any kind of ideas in which to maybe improve or change the system, or to keep it the way it is?
So one of the main things for welfare officers to do is to organise drop-in sessions. So the first thing is, do you think these are important? And then the second, for people in college. And second, do you think you have any ideas to add on to this or make them perhaps more relevant?
I'm really glad you asked that question, actually. This is the first thing on my manifesto. Of course they're important, but yeah, I am discontent with the way they are at the moment. This is because I feel like people only come to me when they already feel comfortable with me. And it's not fair that drop-ins are almost this like intimidating sort of like, oh, I suppose that's quite nice for people that need to go, but it's not for me sort of thing. That's not okay. And so my idea for drop-ins was, to make them more effective, was to be more familiar within college, and that would happen with every... Okay, as quickly as I can. So, in Freshers Week we're there at meals, okay, to be able to continue that throughout the year. So on any given welfare team, most will, or half will live out. So for the ones that live out, we get the £10 for £40 meal packages and encourage them to put in half, and hopefully be able to cover the other half by the welfare budget, so they're only paying £20 for 10 meals, which is really good for them. And then, so then it should work out at least once per day, but not once per meal. There should be a welfare officer round and about just chatting to people, not in a funny way, in blue t-shirts, like what problems do you have and picking on the guy on his own, but like, not like that at all, but making friends in the same way anyone ever makes friends. So hopefully 8 weeks down the line, someone's like, oh, actually I've got a housing issue, I'm just going to go and see Hannah, I'm just going to go and see Polly, and it's not like this daunting, I'm going to go and see welfare. It's sort of like people that you already know and feel comfortable with, and I think that's actually the way to tackle that. Also like more tea and towels, because everyone loves those and we love putting them on, and that's, again, it increases familiarity. And then the last thing, encourage people to go for coffees, because I've had so many more people come to me and be like, actually Hannah, can I go for a coffee with you and chat to you about my housing issue? And you can tell actually when they're at coffees that they don't feel the pressure as much. It's not like I'm in the welfare room, do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, it's just you and them, and so, yeah, all of those things, sorry.
Yeah, I agree that there can be a lot changed about drop-ins to improve them. Firstly, I think in terms of organisation, it would be a lot better if we, say the welfare officer gets a message from every assistant welfare officer at the start of the week saying, I'm going to do this drop-in at this time, and then we can send an email out or put it on Facebook saying, this day, this person, because at the moment we kind of post on Facebook, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, so you guys don't really know who's in there, and I wouldn't walk into a room to discuss anything if I didn't know who was in there. I know some people want to talk to someone that they know, someone want to talk to someone they don't know. So I think it's really important to just organise that and have every day really clearly at the start of the week what's going on with welfare. In terms of changing and a few different ideas that I have. One thing is, I think during Freshers Week we could trial this and then continue it throughout the year if it worked, but have kind of an unofficial welfare drop-in in different accommodation blocks around college. So have an afternoon where we say a few welfare officers are going to go and sit in Moatside Kitchen, like go and have a chat if you want. And then if someone actually does want to have a really serious private chat, then they can take one of those welfare officers somewhere else and they can go and chat together. But it's just us coming to you rather than you having to come to us. Another thing I think which we could do is make a connection with another college. Choose a college really, really far away on the hill. Yeah, kind of swap welfare officers with them. So have a couple of drop-ins a term where there's someone in the welfare room or somewhere in college that you have absolutely no idea who they are, but they understand college welfare, and hopefully they'll be a friendly, nice person who's easy to talk to. Where you can share absolutely anything, because having spoken to people this week, they've said, I'm friends with everyone on the welfare team. If I got pregnant, for example, I really wouldn't go and tell you guys. And I think having just the occasional opportunity where you can chat to someone that you have absolutely no idea, that's not something that comes across particularly regularly. So I think that could be something which could be really used. Yeah, and obviously we'd do that in exchange, and the welfare officer or campaigns officer would head up to like Fanmilde or someone.
Thank you very much. So the final question now. George. Yeah.
So a big part of the role is organising open days and Freshers Week. Now, they're historically seen as opportunities to drink. What kind of events and things do you have planned that will be available to people who want to drink and people who don't want to drink?
Okay.
So the other part of the role for welfare officer is to help out with running open days and with Freshers Week. What kind of events do you have in mind to run for people who want to drink and for those who do not want to drink?
I think in terms of, I'll go for the drinking first, in terms of that, I think that runs really well as it is. People enjoy hanging out at the Undy and then going on and exploring the clubs in Durham during the evening. Something which has been commented on is that maybe those events should start a bit later in the evening so that people have a bit more time to get ready if you've had a really busy day of like academic commitments. And also an opportunity to then get to know people in your block and where you live a bit more. In terms of daytime stuff, every year it improves, but every year it's the same thing which gets commented on how it needs to get better. I think the things we did this year worked really well to an extent, like we did Newcastle tours, scavenger hunt and the sports day. I think the things like Newcastle tours and scavenger hunts were left a bit ambiguous. And because they were spread over the whole week, people kind of didn't do them, and a few people did and really enjoyed it. But I think if they were set more as an activity happening on this day and had something every day, then people would come down and mix up. I also really think, in terms of welfare, that the welfare room should be used more during Freshers Week, just to really publicise who we are, because through the canvassing I found that a lot of people are still quite unsure of what welfare offers. So prioritising having an event where you have like cake in the welfare room during the afternoon, I think is very important, because that got a bit forgotten about this year. I'd also like to do things like games nights, as I've already mentioned, but also mixing up with different aspects of college as well. I think a really nice activity during Freshers Week would be to do things like making decorations for the Undy, doing things to help out Ents, and it would also help out the Freps and the Exec during that time. But yeah, doing some things in there where you can just do an activity and chat, and hopefully it will make the welfare room more of a social space and not the place that you always go that's only used for drop-ins. So yeah, just make it more of a social space used for more things.
Actually, I'm really glad again that this question has been asked, because something was said to me that was canvassing when I was canvassing that actually, like, I had to apologise on behalf of the welfare team, in that some welfare has to be careful not to push people to drink in Freshers Week, and we should be encouraging people to have fun, and we should be allowing people to drink and get involved with what they're doing, although not getting drunk with them. it's not all right for there to be like a train of Jaeger bombs and for someone, like for a welfare officer to be shouting in someone's face, train, because like someone said to me like I wasn't, like, no, but some people like didn't feel comfortable with that. So firstly, the welfare have to be aware and very like conscious people. So hopefully through the selection process, and not that anyone on the welfare team is bad at the moment, but slip up that just can't happen. So events in Freshers Week, actually one of my second thing on my manifesto actually was to do more international things, and I think because international, to hear the week beforehand, I think it'd be really, really like cool to be able to get them involved in organising events in Freshers Week, not organising them but like taking a leading role. If they're confident enough to do so. So these would be things like there could be food stands around the courtyard where people are making food from their own country, and people are, or not making food, but people are trying in that and like getting engaged in other people's cultures. Or we could have a Russian dancing session in the Undi on an afternoon, like silly things that people are really quirky, and also like encourage the diversity and celebrate that. I think that's really important, and continue that sort of thing throughout the year. But yeah, Freshers Week's really important. I feel like I'm quite creative, and I would like love to be able to get in on that. But yeah, to be a really, really conscious welfare during that time.
Thank you very much.